Welcome to your most authoritative show, The Pulse. It's coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimle on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, West African Examination Council confirms leakage of some of the papers of the ongoing West African Senior School Certificate examinations.
The Council's monitoring revealed the circulation of numerous versions of questions.
We have details that 11 schools have been put under surveillance on suspicion of exam malpractices taking place. Also this afternoon, pay beneficiaries now. NGO Send Ghana expresses worry about the continuous delay in releasing monies for the poor.
It's not only LIP that funding normally delays. We wish to remind the government again that citizens have the right to social protection.
This afternoon, there's a conversation on this urgent matter to get the Gender Ministry to explain why the situation is so and when monies will be released to beneficiaries. Plus, the state of deposed Guinean President Alpha Condé after a high-powered delegation from ECOWAS meets leaders of Junta and detained former President Alpha Condé.
In a state of shock. Condition under which he will be released, that at the moment I cannot talk about.
We have details that ECOWAS heads of state convene in Accra tomorrow at the invitation of President Akufo-Addo to deliberate on the matter. Remember, we are streaming live on all our social media handles. We are live also on YouTube. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at the Nana Aisha. Let's begin this afternoon with the West African Examination Council that has confirmed that 2 papers of the ongoing West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASSCE, have leaked. At a news conference, head of test administration Ohene Mante said aspects of the mathematics and English papers found its way into the public domain before the exam took off. The West Africa Examination Council has been briefing the media on measures taken so far. Listen to George Ohene Mante, head of test administration at WAEC.
Focus on their books. Further, conduct of elective mathematics and English language papers. The cheating social media groups were in full swing prior to the conduct of the mathematics elective and English language papers on 9 and 13 September 2021, respectively. The Council's monitoring revealed the circulation of numerous versions of questions, both printed and handwritten, on most of the groups referred to earlier. After the administration of the test, careful scrutiny of the several versions received indicates extras of parts of the questions for Mathematics Elective 2 and Section A of English Language 2 were circulated on social media platforms. Reports from initial investigations and further information received indicate that the circulation was not extensive. Additionally, the Council will deploy various internationally accepted assessment procedures and interventions within its domain to guarantee the credibility of results. Consequently, those found culpable will be sanctioned. Then rescheduling of Physics 2 and 1 and Business Management 2 and 1 papers. The office has rescheduled the Physics 2 and 1 and Business Management 2 and 1 papers originally scheduled for today, Wednesday, 15 September 2021. A new date for the rescheduled papers will be communicated in due course. However, Auto Mechanics 2 and 1 will be administered today, 15 September 2024 at 2 p.m. as scheduled.
this afternoon. WAEC says it has resulted in increased inspection and monitoring at the various centers. Let's look at the statement that it issued a while ago. It says, after the administration of the test, careful scrutiny of the several versions received indicates extras of parts of the questions for mathematics, elective 2 and section A of the English language 2 were circulated on some social media platforms. Reports from initial investigations and further information received indicate that the circulation was not extensive. It goes on to say that additionally, the council will deploy various internationally accepted assessment procedures and interventions within its domain to guarantee the credibility of results. Consequently, those found culpable will be sanctioned. And it's indicated that 11 schools are under scrutiny. The schools are Ejiso Senior High Technical School, Anglo, Senior High, Afiadenigba Senior High School, Tepa Senior High School, Yeji Senior High Technical School, King David College, Somenya Christ, the King Senior High School, Obuase, Modern Senior High School, Kbon, Modern Senior High School, Kentampo, Oyoko Methodist Senior High School, and Klo Agogo Senior High School. And it says strict internal controls and compliance by all staff to the security regulations of the council too, and those are measures taken so far. Increased inspection and monitoring at the various centers, withdrawal of some supervisors and invigilators from providing service for the council pending further sanctioning, and scrutiny of scripts of schools where cheating has been reported, where mass cheating is established in centers, that appropriate sanctions will be applied. And 5, continued tracking of rogue websites and social media cartels in collaboration with security agencies. And so those are words from WAEC after the 2 papers were leaked. Now, joining me in the studio for a conversation on this is Kofi Asare, who is the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, that gave a hint recently about these leakages, but the allegations were debunked by WAEC. Kofi, I'm happy that you are here. How does this development come across to you?
It comes well and also raises further eyebrows. Well, because I'm happy WAEC is owning up to the responsibility and committing to enforcing standards no matter the social or economic costs. Obviously, when you suspect that the process is compromised, that is what you have to do. And so I give it to WAEC. I also acknowledge that prior to this, the Minister of Education indicated yesterday that the ministry is considering digitizing the process to minimize the human element involvement so that when leaks occur, or even if leaks occur, you are able to pinpoint where exactly they came from. We have developed a policy brief on how to infuse technology into this system and strengthen it so that we are able to have a leak-proof system. And so we are happy the ministry is buying into our proposals as well. Having said that, let me indicate that WAEC is being a bit charitable with the actual situation on the ground because its image is at stake. It's unfortunate. But that is why we have petitioned the Director General of the Criminal Investigation Department to investigate the source of these questions. And I had discussions with the CID a couple of hours ago. Now, in the statement WAEC issued, WAEC claims that questions in elective mathematics 2 and English 2 leaked close to the examination time. And they are saying that because they leaked when they were about to start the papers, it wasn't widespread. Okay. I agree with WAEC that if questions leak 30 minutes or 45 minutes to the scheduled time for the examination, it may be deemed not to be widespread if they have a means to verify what is widespread in an era of social media. But this is the case where we intercepted these questions the previous night. Okay. And we have evidence. And indeed, we have shown some of the evidence, a result of elective mathematics to WAEC On the platform that we intercepted it, we went there with the live platform and showed it to them that as before midnight, around 11 o'clock,
Okay.
these questions were already in circulation. So I find it a bit disturbing when WAEC says that these questions leaked just before the commencement. No, they leaked more than 10 hours before the paper.
The election.
In that case, it is difficult for us to say that the circulation was minimal or there was no, wide circulation of these questions. And that is where I find a bit because the same principle which is being used to postpone today's papers, physics and then the management papers, should apply to all others.
Okay.
So that there's a standardized protocol being applied for all.
Oh.
We got the physics question at 4 a.m.
Okay.
And then we had the management one yesterday.
What's your source?
The questions are sold. So we also buy them.
Oh, really?
They are sold.
From who? So if you know the people who you're buying from,
Yes.
why are you not pinning them out so that they can be arrested or sanctioned?
That is why I'm saying that I just left the CID headquarters.
Okay.
We've been in discussions with the CID since yesterday. Because we have been monitoring the WASI and the activities of question marketers and people who have been doing the business on the ground.
Okay.
For over 2 months now. 1 month before WASI started. You understand? But the issue is that when you package the evidence and you take it to WAEC will say the questions circulated minutes before the examination.
Okay.
When we got the questions, where people are actually buying the questions on platforms with over 100,000 subscribers on 10 hours before.
Okay.
So we have given all the evidence we have to the CID that it should investigate. And then our interest is that we want to ensure that the people within WAEC system some bad elements, who are taking advantage of their positions in the system, especially between the depots and the schools, are dealt with, whether it's from WAEC, whether it's from GES. But they are the two people who normally handle the questions. The only person who has a key to the question bag at the depot is a WAEC officer.
Okay.
So if questions find their way onto social media marketing platforms, 10 hours, 10 hours before the scheduled time for writing a paper, if you are asking questions or you are investigating, you definitely are investigating WAEC officers and GES officers because they are the two that come into contact, and then to understand the police who escorts.
Okay.
They are the two that come into contact between the depot.
The exam centers. Okay, I want to understand this. Is this only a problem of Ghana, or is this something that we see in all the other countries that WAEC is present?
It is not a problem of Ghana. On these platforms, and we are present on about 18 platforms. Okay. I read WAEC's statement. WAEC is only present on only one of our platforms. So it means that WAEC is not present in about 17 of the platforms that we are present in. Only one platform that we are on with WAEC.
Okay.
Now, on some of these platforms, questions emerge from other countries, especially Nigeria and Sierra Leone.
Okay.
So it is not only Ghana. It is actually a business that that has been built over time. Okay. Our engagement with most of the platforms indicate that they've been in this business since 2010. And as social media proliferation keeps becoming profound, they are capitalizing on these platforms to grow their business and as much as possible make a business case. And so it is not a Ghana situation alone, but it is also happening in other countries, except to say that we are more concerned about the Ghana one because we believe that Ghana should always be the pace setter in the sub-region, especially within the 5 WAEC member countries. And so being the pace setter, we should set higher standards and expect the other countries to actually follow suit. That's why I'm happy that the Ministry of Education has indicated its commitment to digitize the process and remove the human element as much as possible, so that even if there's a leakage, we're able to pinpoint
where this could be coming from.
Because when technology is involved, there's a seal which is part of the pack. If you break the seal, if you break the seal, the system communicates the GPS location of the bag and then also communicates the code of the bag. So you will know that Damango Senior High School, for instance, I'm just making an example, the seal had been broken.
Okay.
It was broken at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And broken ahead of the scheduled time by 10 hours. In that case, you're able to trace and know exactly who is responsible for
that.
When we have such systems, we'll strengthen the accountability within the exam value chain and also improve the credibility of our examination system. Other than that, we will have challenges.
Thankfully, we are joined by Kwesi Kwarteng, who is the spokesperson for the Education Ministry. Kwesi, I'm grateful for your time.
And a very good evening to you, and good evening to my brother in the studio.
Okay, Kwesi, has it come to your notice that some exams papers have leaked in the ongoing WAEC exams?
Okay, so with our checks with WAEC, I mean, you mean WAEC is the agency responsible for the conduct of these exams, especially at the pre-tertiary institutions. I mean, looking at exams like BEC and WASI, for that matter, our checks with them indeed confirms that there has been a reschedule of today's morning papers, i.e., we are looking at physics and business management, which was supposed to be conducted early this morning. But then, unfortunately, even when students had prepared for the exams, the communication that came from WAEC is that the paper has been rescheduled. But of course, I mean, if you look at the press statement or the statement issued by WAEC, I mean, if you check their website, our correspondence with them, what they are saying is that it was a management decision. As of now, an explanation has not been offered to the main reasons why the exams was postponed. But then let me take this opportunity to clarify our stance and even the stance of WAEC, even though we do not speak for them as a whole. I think WAEC rescheduled the paper, and then you have some impression also going out there that the paper was cancelled. You know, the paper can only be cancelled when it has already been written.
Okay.
In this case, the paper had not been written.
So it's been rescheduled.
Yes, students were actually preparing for the paper or the exams. And then it was scheduled. So we have to get that distinction right. And so, yes, the communique is that it has been rescheduled, even though the date and time that students are supposed to go and write the next paper was not communicated to us. But we hope that as soon as possible, WAEC is able to come out clearly on the time and date that students are supposed to go and write the exam. Because, I mean, as a student, when you prepare for exams and you are confronted with this challenge, certainly it tends to even dampen your spirit. But we will encourage them that they should just keep their heads high. Bottom line is that even you look at the position of the students, where they find themselves now, and the decision that WAEC has taken. For me and we in the ministry, at the end, we feel that it was to guard the integrity of the exams. But bottom line is that going forward, we have to look beyond probably what WAEC is doing. Recently, when the Education Minister, the Honorable Dr. Yawoseduchum, taught some WASI centers, I mean, he was even emphasizing this whole issue about malpractice and how to tackle it, where he spoke about serialization of our papers, so that in the same classroom, we get about 10 different sets of questions from students. And so if you turn your right, the questions that your friend is answering is certainly different from yours. If you turn your left to the questions that you are answering is certainly different from the other person's. And so when you bring some of this in, it tends to reduce the rate at which students, or there could be more practice, which could even be the grounds for some of this rescheduling and cancellation of papers eventually. But bottom line is that, I mean, beyond this, you also have to look at electronic testing, as the minister rightly mentioned. Electronic testing, you are looking at also removing completely the human interface associated with the conduct of this exam. Because if you look at it, I mean, all the news items, all the speculations, all the rumors that have been going on. Even I personally check the WAEC website, you realize that they even acknowledges some level of malpractices in the exams, some in the classroom, some even before the exams and other things. But bottom line is that you have to get a system that, as much as possible, reduces the human interface associated with the exams. And so we are looking at a model like electronic testing, where your biodata has been taken, you sit beside your computer, it verifies you, then you conduct your test. If any other party, probably you turn more than 10 meters or 100 radius, then the system is able to, by the artificial intelligence, to predict that you are attempting to cheat or you want to cheat. Then, I mean, the system cut you off. So in the long term, that is where we are looking at. But in the short term, what the minister is proposing that WAEC should quickly factor, WAEC should quickly factor is in their conduct of exams is a serialization, so that we have about 10 different sets of questions in the exams. But then, I mean, just for purposes of clarity, the reason for the rescheduling of this paper has not been officially been communicated.
Okay, I want to read excerpts of the statement from WAEC this afternoon when they briefed to the press. They said, after administration of tests, careful scrutiny of the several versions received indicates extracts of parts of the questions for Mathematics Elective 2 and Section A of English Language 2 were circulated on some social media platform. Reports from initial investigation and further information received indicate that the circulation was not extensive. But again, so this is the reason they've given, and probably that is why the paper has been rescheduled. But if
we are looking at the paper the paper in question here is the physics and the business management. That was rescheduled. Recall English was written, I think, somewhere Monday. So they gave a general overview of the exam so far. So I'm sure probably this is in reference to that. But to the paper in context here is the fixes and the business management. Which,
and of course, in coming to terms with what has happened the last time, and that is why they are rescheduling these papers, because if some of the papers have leaked, you cannot tell if these ones too have leaked. So they have to.
I'm not sure it will be fair to draw such linkages.
Okay, so what kind of explanation have you had? What kind of explanation have you had from WAEC?
Yes, so is there more reason why I'm saying that? I mean, I'm not here to protect WAEC. I mean, if we are having any reasons to protect, we are to protect the ordinary student who prepared for the exams, and by any other reason or by whatever reasons the person went to the exams and the papers have to be rescheduled, even though you look at the ultimate aim of protecting the integrity of the exam that is being conducted. But the point is that as of now, no official reason has been ascribed to. Of course, I mean, it is logical and it is reasonable for anybody to think that it's based on these whole issues about leakages of exams. And I mean, these are possibilities. This is not the first time that we are having these issues, or we are having these issues coming up. But bottom line is that we as a ministry, we are much interested in how to solve the problem. That is what the Honorable Dr. Duchum is interested, how to solve the problem. We are not saying that the WAEC system on the current model is a perfect one. Any system or any model where you have an human interface probably play more role than the technological interface. You kind of get some of these backlashes or some of these problems. Of course, I mean, reasonably, you expect that it is possible for leakages and those other things that may have resulted in it, even though officially they've not confirmed or they've not said that. But we are more interested in how do we curb these problems going forward. And that is where we come in with our serialization call. That is where we come in with our electronic testing call. I mean, this is something that we do not expect. This is not something that we shouldn't encourage. But at least you have to look at the motive, you have to look at the intent. I'm sure all is to protect the integrity of the exams. I mean,
Kwesi, I'll have you hold because I'm coming to that. I mean, what measures you're putting in place, short to medium term, to address some of these challenges, because it's become annually. But he's talking about the papers that were supposed to be written that was rescheduled. You have the questions, right?
Yeah, well, Kwesi works with the ministry, so he may not be privy to what we are privy to. We are monitoring WASI from 100 schools and over 18 platforms. And we have been in constant touch with WAEC. After the elective maths paper, I met with WAEC and then provided to them the evidence that the questions leaked.
They leaked.
A live platform, not a printed matter.
That is the physics paper?
The elective maths.
The elective maths.
Yes. And we have had engagement with the minister and the Director General of JoyNews, where we also actually opened the platform for them to see how the food and nutrition tray also leaked. Not printed matter. We opened the live platform, so you go and see the data there. Okay. So we are saying that we got the fixes questions at 4 a.m. And it's on our social media handle. We got it at 4 a.m.
Wow.
And the question that was actually rescheduled, the questions were distributed. So in some schools, they had
the questions before WAEC came out to say that it's been rescheduled.
Candidates had seated and some were ahead. So our monitors brought us the questions that were supposed to be written.
Okay.
Now our monitors brought it. So we compared the questions supposed to be written to the leaked one, which was written in ink.
Which was the same.
Handwritten, of course. I mean, so the discussion, so far as I'm concerned, should not be about whether there was a leak or not.
Okay.
The discussion
should
focus on...
sorry, just a quick one. Actually, if I may react to this one.
Go ahead.
I mean, the whole point is that we want to protect the integrity of these exams. I'm not sure the intent of my brother is to run the exams. That I feel he is doing this in good faith and will support him. But then, just for the records, recall in WAEC's earlier statement. I mean, let me just read a portion to you. When EduWatch initially came out that the food and nutrition paper was leaked and it was already in the system. Even before I read it, let me just put some education here. You see, with regards to the practicals paper, a lot of times the question is given to the tutors so that they are able to prepare the students in advance. For instance, if, in biology class, we are to say, cut a ruminant and identify the parts or label the parts or whatever. Just hypothetically, a question like that. Certainly, somebody ought to prepare that animal even before the exams. And so when such a question is in the public domain or, is with the teachers, that cannot be construed as a leakage of the question. But let me highlight to you a point that WAEC made in a response earlier to the claims by EduWatch that the questions has leaked. Listen, if I will read to you, it said, while the actual paper requested candidates to prepare, cook and serve a 3-course meal for an ulcer patient, the purported leaked question paper received from EduWatch request for a 2-course meal for a lactating mother. Look at this.
Okay.
Clearly different questions
between
what the students wrote and what EduWatch is having.
Okay,
yes,
so
my brother wants to lay claim to the fact that the questions were leaked.
Kofi is here. I would let him respond to that, Kofi.
That's fine, but we are not running that way. But the bottom line is that we have to have a conversation about discussing it. It's not about creating an impression that the whole system is bad. No, I'm not
sure anybody is creating that impression, Kwesi.
But at least for the records, WAEC reacted to that the questions they are holding is an entirely different from the questions that the students wrote.
Okay, Kwesi.
Kofi should come on that.
Kwesi,
we should let us know his position on that.
Kwesi, okay. I indicated that we had a discussion with the minister and the Director General of JoyNews and his deputy, and we granted them access to our Telegram platform, and we showed them the time we obtained the questions. I did not say instructions. At least I am competent enough to differentiate between instructions for a practical paper.
Don't use semantics here.
No. I'm saying that. Give me.
Questions has been linked.
Wait. Let him make that.
I listen to you.
Come in.
I'm saying that at least give me some small respect. I know the difference between we are a team of over 80 monitors. Monitoring from about over 100 schools. I know the difference between the instructions for a practical paper, the instructions for a project work paper, and then the questions themselves. So please, I'm saying that we had an engagement with the minister and the Director General, and we proved to them that the questions for food and nutrition tray, I did not say instructions, the questions leaked. And we have
let him land. I'll give you the opportunity to also respond.
And on that day, we made the post, the screenshot of the question for the food and nutrition tray on our verified Facebook handle. It's still there. You can go and check it. And on that same accord, we have also submitted today to the Director General of the CID evidence that the question, not your instructions, question for food and nutrition tray leaked. So please, come onto the table and let's have a discussion on the real issues.
Okay.
And don't be speaking to what WAEC used as an excuse to daze you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We are not talking about instructions.
That
here.
is not fair.
Okay.
Kofi, don't divert attention from the focus.
All right, Kofi. So let
not
Kwesi also come in. Kwesi, yeah. So let's.
And I'm surprised you're talking about instructions. I mean, come on, Kwesi, come on. Your boss knows this. Come on.
Okay, Kwesi, let's hear you.
When one party holds an entrenched position, as soon as you do that, we are unable to move forward and solve the challenge that is available.
Okay, let's move forward.
Nobody is ruling out the possibility that questions can leak. As we've admitted, in every activity, in every system where you have human interface, these are possibilities. The solution is that you address it head on. And I've made you.
So what's your short to medium?
I mean, with the serialization and the electronic testing. But back to what Kofi was saying. Listen, what I said, while the actual paper requested to prepare, cook and serve a 3-course meal for an ulcer patient, the purported leak question paper received from Edwards requested for a 2-course meal. What? I mean, what is the instruction?
Okay, so
they
this
are
is
talking
something.
About exam questions. So
this is something
I'm
that.
very surprised the use of semantics to confuse us. I mean,
okay, so you said we should move forward. So this is something that you need to come back to the table and trash, just like Kofi is saying, because, I mean, all we all need is a solution to this matter. And that's why I'm asking, what is your short to medium term measures taken to address some of these issues?
I was coming there. I mean, but just a quick one. You see, let's be realistic here. Which institution, ordinarily, that wants to promote cheating and leaking of exams will go and form a Telegram page, Constitution of Nigerians and other people to cheat in an exams? Clearly, these are rogue individuals that may want to take advantage of students and exploit them.
Yeah, so
the syllables are there. Any person that has studied syllables, any examiner could even look at the syllables and predict the questions. When I was in Ponongwood Senior High School, I knew that in biology you would clearly get osmosis.
But you definitely can't get it exactly the way WAEC said the questions. We've all written those exams before.
Yes, there are about 10, 15
why are you
different
denying the leak? Why are you denying the leak?
Kofi, let him make his point.
You can't solve a problem that you are denying. No, you can't solve a problem that you keep denying. So be honest. Just be honest a bit. Be honest.
You are a brother. Respectfully.
How can you resolve a problem that you are claiming doesn't exist? Let's be honest with ourselves.
He's not being fair to me.
All right. So do we agree that we want to move forward?
You can't solve a problem if you say the problem doesn't exist.
Yes, but I think he's admitted that it exists. It's something. This has become an annual ritual, which we need to address. That's why I'm asking Kwesi, what are the short to medium terms that the Ministry of Education, the measures that you are putting in place to address some of these issues?
In WAEC circular, for instance, they came out with a short-term solution. I mean, clearly, especially with the ongoing exams, what you need to do is to tighten the monitoring and the supervision system. What you need to do is, those schools that you have hints about leakages and other things, you quickly move in to make sure that the system is really tightened. You have to follow these rogue websites and rogue individuals, report them to the police and other things. But that will not cure the problem ultimately.
Okay.
In the ultimate term, what the Minister of Education, Dr. Yawa Osei Ebichum, is proposing is that we should, and it's about time to raise a conversation about serialization. What do you mean by serialization? So that in the same classroom, in the same test center, where there are 100 students, at least you have 10 different sets of questions. So that at the end, you are unable to look at your right or left and ask. At the end, there is no motivation in even teaching or because let's say you read a question.
So this is about leakage, not like copying when the exam is in session.
So I was coming there. I said you should have allowed me to land.
Okay,
I'm saying that in the situation of even leakage of question, it's not possible for you to have all the 10 questions being leaked. If today you have question A being leaked, what about the other 9 set of questions? You are not even sure which one you are going to even do. So there is no even motivation of even going to probably leak the question. That is what the innovative way that the Honorable Minister is using in addressing the problem. When Edward met us, when Edward met the education minister, I mean, that's all this whole discussion came. When Edward proposed about digitization and other things, we said, yes, I mean, these are all good news. These are all welcome. But we are looking at serialization as a means to stopping or addressing this challenge ultimately.
Okay,
we are looking at electronic testing in the long term. So in the short term, the minister, even on Monday, proposed that WAEC should factor in that concept of serialization. Yes, which means it's an admission in the first place that even the minister acknowledges that in an exams like this, where you have a lot of human interface, you can have some of these backlash and some of these challenges.
So factor in means what?
Challenges.
Factor in means what? I mean, asking WAEC to factor in some of these means what?
Yes, so I mean, if you look at the establishment of WAEC and this mandate, I mean, WAEC has been in existence since, I think, 1952, yes, and is an independent institution with credibility, but of course, I mean, you have some of these backlashes coming. And as an institution like that, when you want to have reforms, certainly it will have to be a stakeholder engagement and consensus. You do not just call WAEC and say that, no, I mean, just like Kofi Asare has come to your studios and all of a sudden proposed that WAEC does A, and all of a sudden is done. What it means is that...
So when are we going to have the stakeholder engagement? Because the issues are not waiting for us. We need to resolve them.
That is the kind of conversation that the Honorable Dr. Educhum has started. And he's saying that it's about time we factor in, we look at serializing our exams.
Are you able to give us timelines as to when we can have this serialization?
I am telling you, the conversation has already been provoked by the Honorable Minister. And what it means is that the Honorable Minister has even admitted, and that even shows or demonstrates a kind of honesty that he admits that in an exams like this where you have human interface, these are all challenges that could be possible. And he did not only admit, but he proposed that we should be looking at serialization in the short term.
Yes, I think we are all on that level. That serialization should come in. But when is it coming?
And I'm saying that conversation has even been started. As soon as the minister raises it up and challenges WAEC, it means that the conversation has started. And I'm happy with Kofi Asare, his contribution to this conversation and this dialogue and this discourse. Bottom line is that we are there to fix challenges. When there are challenges with leakages, when there are challenges with malpractices, we are the supervisory body who will get WAEC to fix it. But ultimately, we believe that serialization will solve the problem.
You haven't told me exactly when. I mean, you should have a target.
Aisha, I keep telling you that the conversation has even been started as soon as the Honorable Minister raised it.
Okay, so you've started the conversation.
I am aware, and let me indicate that, you see, we are having this discussion today because over time, we've not had adequate political will to confront this matter head on. Okay, so regime after regime, we brush it under the carpet, and now it has become a monster. So I am happy that His Excellency indicated in January in his first SONA that he was going to reform this system. And the minister has been unequivocal in proposing his tech solutions and also
the serialization.
I have had several discussions with the minister, and I think that the serialization is one of the short-term measures that can be adopted. That can be started next year. But that one, you don't need any money, millions of dollars to invest in technology. It's just serializing. We are in one room, but there are 10 different buckets of questions. So if you want to get proper leak, get all 100 questions. Impossible. So that's fantastic. And I am happy that that commitment has been made because it is not easy to admit this fault, you know, and then solve it when people are reading all sorts of meaning into it. But my issue is that for us to address the issue head on, we shouldn't play ostrich and try to water down the situation. We are monitoring the situation. What we find is what we put out and engage the ministry. Every day there's a leakage. I communicate to the minister. Sometimes 12 midnight, I call him. Because we are worried. That's the only way we can help resolve the matter because the leaks happen at midnight. So please, it is not part of our terms of reference or engagement strategy to water down or to sensationalize the issue. We speak to the issue as it is. For example, look at what I'm talking about. Have you heard us on any radio station or TV station talking about electric mass leaking? No. Call mass leaking, English leaking? No. we haven't gone public on any of the leaks since the first one, because we realized that when we go public immediately, the focus, instead of it being on the policy and operational remedies being developed to forestall the occurrence, is rather to defend WAEC. So we stopped that strategy until WAEC themselves came out today to admit that there's an issue.
Okay,
so please.
So we all agree that the serialization will help us. Is it something that we can get in action next year? Because Kofi is suggesting that it's something that can work out by next year.
And Isa, in this question, you've asked it. I'm saying that the conversation has been started, and as soon as possible, it will be institutionalized. I mean, let me give you one characteristic. I mean, Kofi will confirm it. I mean, the Honorable Minister is a type that as soon as he takes an action, he makes sure that he really finishes it. And we hope that, I mean, the same will be applicable when it comes to this. I mean, this is what Kofi can attest.
All right. I would like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on board. Kwesi Kwarteng, spokesperson of the Ministry of Education. Kofi Asare is the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. This is a conversation that will continue on PM Express because there is a lot to digest on this one. And so you want to stick with Joy News for that conversation. But also there's been a lot of comments on this one on social media. I want to get on Facebook and read a few of the comments there for you. And where do I start from? A number of comments there. So I would look at them and then I'll read a few of them for you. Okay, so as and when I get the questions, I read them for you. And I start with Noah Nate, who says, people are doing every evil thing possible to discredit the good efforts of this government for their own political gains. And that's Noah Nate there for you. There are more of the comments there. King Lofty says, when will you people stop the lies? Too much of everything is chronic disease. Okay, so I don't know who is telling the lies right now. Jata Selikem says, find their way, pa. The papers now have legs. And Mukhtar Muhyiddin says, in which way? Okay, so that's a response to finding the papers finding their way. A lot of the questions are on Facebook, and if you log on to our Facebook page, you can read more of the comments for yourself. Now, to other issues, beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Program, LEAP, are asking the government to release their stipends immediately. They are paid between 64 and 106 cedis, an amount that has already been criticized as inadequate. The beneficiaries say the delays has exacerbated their hardships. My colleague Justice Bedo has been out to meet some of them.
Jamestown, British Accra, serene and yet one of Accra's most populated suburbs.
British Accra is one of the oldest inner cities in Ghana. In places like this, cases of high unemployment, low educational attainment, and issues with housing challenges mean poverty levels are high. And it is in places like this that social interventions like the Livelihood Empowerment Program comes in critical.
The Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program is a cash transfer aimed at cushioning people at the very bottom of the income ladder in Ghana, mainly disabled, aged, and sick people. It is in Jamestown that Nicolina Ama lives. She's a single parent with 4 children and is a caregiver for a 90-year-old woman. She is a LEAP beneficiary and gets paid a little over 60 cedis every 2 months.
Very, very difficult. Sometimes
life is tough for me. There are days I stay indoors and cry. There are too many problems. Living alone is tough. So think about living with all these children. It's tough, very tough. It's tough, very tough.
Nicolina has been hoping that the amount from the LEAP program would be increased so she could reinvest in her dressmaking business.
This man tobacco. No. I'm waiting for it.
This month, the money has delayed. We are waiting for it. But sometimes we are called that the money is coming. So this month too, we are waiting for the call that the money is coming.
So we are expecting it this month. It wasn't last month too. Last 2 months we collected it. So we are expecting something this month. It makes it 2 months, 2 months. You see, but one thing I could say is, if the money is trying to keep, normally it doesn't happen.
We are about 38.
Mercy Okine, herself a caregiver on the program, is also a community leader here in Jamestown. She has consistently spoken about a need to increase the amount of money paid to beneficiaries.
The money is not enough to take care of the ladies. So if they want increment, yeah, we want. If I say they want, we want increments, because you see the situation and the problems on the ground. That one will not do anything. Though it's supporting, it can't take care of you totally.
Our attempt to get answers from the LEAP Secretariat has been unsuccessful, as beneficiaries continue to sit in a long, painful wait. Justice Beidou, JoyNews, Jamestown.
Back in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Send Ghana has also expressed concerns about the prevailing situation. The NGO believes if government can prioritize the needs of the beneficiaries, it will go a long way to make livelihood of the poor better. At a news conference in Accra, Deputy Country Director Dr. Emmanuel Afriya said a government should rope in the private sector to deal with challenges. Hannah Odame was there and now reports.
75-year-old Alice Ajoka, who resides in Lower Manyakrobo in the eastern region, has been waiting for her LEAP money for over 2 months now. This is not the first time. According to her, she does not know who to ask whenever her money delays. She relies on the 64 cedis LEAP allocation, which she gets every 2 months when it's available. Her worry now is how to treat her ailments, which requires lots of money. I am sick and cannot walk. I'm also unable to work, so I depend on government for survival. When my allocation for LEAP does not come due to delays, I ask some of my relatives to support me. I am pleading with government. We are his people, so he should please assist us and ensure the monies come on time. Alice's situation does not make NGOs Send Ghana happy. They do not understand why authorities of the LEAP program and other social intervention programs do not make life less difficult for beneficiaries.
To join us to collectively urge our government to indeed release funding for LEAP and other pro-poor interventions. We wish to remind the government again that citizens have the right to social protection. Therefore, government should be committed to protecting such rights.
Acknowledging financial challenges that government may be facing in meeting all its social intervention needs, Dr. Eifa recommends a private partnership with government, which he believes will ensure sustainable financing for social protection delivery. He also wants social intervention programs prioritized in the 2022 budget.
And especially that the 2022 budget preparation is underway. We always will have the opportunity and will be speaking directly to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We'll present certain things to them, of course, so to highlight what we've been talking about, and the same with the Ministry of Finance.
For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odame.
Meanwhile, a former bishop of the Kumasi Diocese of the Methodist Church has downplayed the effectiveness of the policy in alleviating poverty. Right Reverend Professor Sefo Kantanka is rather suggesting a loan scheme with a sustainable plan to get people out of hardship and become self-sustainable. Reverend Professor Sefo Kantanka says any government policy which gives handouts is not a sustainable project.
Thank you. Poverty is real in our country, and it has to be fought at about 2 or 3 levels. First, at the level of the individual, second, at the level of the community, and of course, thirdly, at the level of the national government. And I think all 3 levels are very, very important. Let me begin with the national government, where they have to create the environment for people to be able to exercise their own, their potential. This is one of the bane in our part of the world, where people go to school, they do this, and yet they are not enabled, the environment, so that they can be the best that they can. The community also has a lot to play. In our part of the world, the Abusian system has been a real source of help. Unfortunately, the Abusian system in Akan areas is also demonized. So when any misfortune happens, everybody wants to look to the Abusian as the cause of it. But the Abusian can be a major source of support in order to alleviate poverty. But above all, the individual and his or her mindset and how he prepares his life and so on, there has to be a whole change of mindset. And I think that's where the churches and others must really play a major role. Some of the books that I've written focus on that. Abraham was rich, Isaac was rich, Jacob was rich, why not you? So if you go to church, the messages should empower people so that they can come out of poverty. If we want to sit and wait for these 60 cedis in 2 months that is given to someone on leap, is miserable. You cannot even think about it.
So politicians make political capital out of poverty alleviation programs like the Livelihood Empowerment Program. But is that a sustainable way of getting people out of poverty?
In one of my writings, I've talked about loans, not handouts. And if you read the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 15, God gives them instructions. When your neighbor or a Jew is in trouble, give him a loan. It doesn't say give him a handout. So handouts is not a good policy. It only comes to alleviate. Last week, my message was on that those who are receiving help from their friends and neighbors and so on should not make it what I call a dependency syndrome, so that you constantly, so government policy should rather focus on, we are doing this to help you out within this period, and we are putting this there so that you can eventually come out of the poverty. But if you boast about a certain program that I always give so much, and you know that 60 cedis in 2 months, 1 CD a day, is something that is not helpful to anybody, then it is not a policy that we should pursue. We should rather find ways of get the people out, but let them continue to depend on themselves. So nobody should boast about leap, that we are doing it.
So you speak of the role of chiefs in our development agenda, but how do we blend traditional authority and political governance in our poverty alleviation strategy?
Yeah, the local governance is very, very crucial, because before colonialism, that is what they had been doing, and the local governance, as I said earlier on, the society, the community, the Abusian, they had their land and so on, and they helped each other. Now things seem to have changed, and even the land that used to be for the whole Abusian, sometimes you go and it's been taken over by a chief and allocated to people, and they've been taken off their land. So there's so much that is going on in our governance system that is making the poor poorer. And we need to come to a point where we will take such people into consideration and get them. You don't just go and take land that belongs to people And sometimes you don't even give. I remember, and I've written it in my book, going to a chief, and he asked me, Bishop, have you come to plead for me to give my land to the people, or you come to say that the land belongs to them, shall we give it back to them? In other words, he's claiming that the land is his, and he can dispose of it as he wills. That kind of attitude towards our own people, and not considering that, and even if a chief sells land, how do the people benefit from the sale of the land? There's so much that is going on that is making the poor poorer. And our system is not just the people are poor, but the gap between the poor and the rich is getting so wide that people are just being ignored. Look at the 60 cedis per 2 months that is given to somebody. And then they'll go and boast about it. But there's so much that a chief may have taken at the community level, and there's so much that the politicians are also enjoying at their own level. So there has to be a whole new thinking. If we are talking about land, and land is the country. So anybody in charge of land has power and has a means of getting money. So we have to see how you redistribute this money, and so that people can come out of poverty. We are not, I've written in my book that our constitution is not development friendly. It just keeps on moving as at it wants, and we are not doing well.
Now, Prof, we talk of government as a continuum, but we have projects started by the previous administration, hospitals, schools, whose progress have stalled for a long time. How do we deal with that?
No, it's terrible. I have a whole chapter in my book on the directive principles of state policy. This is a section of our constitution that is giving directives to people in governance.
Let's get a background to this with some data analysis. And if you look at what's on your screens right now, it's an international poverty rate in Ghana from 2017 to 2022. Let's look at from 2017 to a projection of 2022. 2017, you had 12.3% over there. 2018, the number is declining from 12.3% to 11.7%. 2019 further declined 11.1%. That's from 11.7%. Now 6% gone. Now we are at 11.1%. At 2020, it wanted to go a little up. It went up by 1%, from 2019. And then fast forward to 2021, it went up a little 1%, 11.3%. But there's a projection, 2022, which is 11.3%, same as 2021 this year. So if you look at that period between 2017 to 2022, you realize that it has declined steadily, and which means that something must be done about it. If you look at the rate also, still from 2017 to 2022, 400 Ghana cedis is what Ghanaians, 25% Ghanaians earn. 400 Ghana cedis they are paid. SNIT revealed this in the 2019 report that about 25% of Ghanaians earn 400 Ghana cedis or less. So this money we are talking about is 400 cedis or even less, and that is what they are surviving on. And even this money is not coming regularly as it should be. Joining us for this conversation for more is Alexis Derry, his first vice president of the Ghana Association of Social Workers. I'm grateful for your time, sir. What's your general assessment of the LEAP initiative? Hello, sir.
Yes, can you come again? I didn't hear the question.
I'm asking.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking for your general assessment of the LEAP initiative.
Thank you very much. I think one of the good things that I'm proud of as a Ghanaian is the inception and continued implementation of the LEAP program. Social interventions basically have a role to play when it comes to moving people from one standpoint to another point in terms of poverty alleviation and in terms of social intervention. So yes, we have made some progress, and I think that the progress is what we are seeing in terms of the decline that we are seeing in the numbers. 11%, as you are still saying, the projection is not good enough. But at least as a country, we have made some progress. But that is not to say that the program is not without challenges. There are a lot of serious challenges confronting the program, and I think that as a nation, we need to confront the challenges and then help to fix them as a nation. If you take the current funding mix of the LEAP program, there are basically two major sources or three major sources. You have the government of Ghana, then you have the World Bank, and then you have the DFID. So the government of Ghana is about 70%, and this 70% include the World Bank partnership. The World Bank own is a loan. We are going to pay back, and the DFID is a grant. So if you look at it within that context, you see that the funding source is not enough, and wherever government of Ghana is getting the money to pay, I presume from the consolidated fund, it means that once there have not been too much drop into the consolidated fund, it may be one of the major reasons for the delay. As we speak now, we are in arrears of the 73rd cycle, which is for the period of July and then August. We haven't paid that. Now, I think as a nation, we need to start asking very serious questions and providing solutions. I would think, and I strongly suggest, that it's partly because we don't have a dedicated source of funding to fund our social interventions. So you take, for example, like the health insurance, we have a dedicated source. So maybe as a nation, we need to start looking at some innovative ways that we can be able to sustain this initiative. It's very good. I heard the reverends alluding to the fact that 60 cities, 2 months is nothing to write home about. Me, as a social worker who have worked in deprived communities, I know that even 20 cities is not enough. But if you go and then listen and interact with the people, you will be so amazed that this intervention, which we all agree as a country that something can be done or something should be done about the quantum, but is alleviating a lot of challenges that people who are the beneficiaries.
So Mr. Derry, Mr. Derry, each year you express worry about the delays in payment. How far have you gotten in getting a sustainable pay plan in place?
So that is where we need to open up the space, and I'm happy Joy FM, Multimedia can take that up as a project. We need to decide as a country that, for instance, if you ask me, we can dedicate a percentage of the lottery's money and create a fund. We can create a fund to fund all our social interventions. For example, you have the LEAP program. You even have instances where you see children, a phenomenon that we see, they are begging for money to cater for the health need of children. They're parading in the street and all that. If we have a fund generally for social interventions which will be anchored on the LEAP, then we can say, let's say 5% dedicated from the deducted from the lotto money. We can even also look at lifestyle disease causes of lifestyle disease and put some tax burdens on those ones. For example, sugar, for example, tobacco, for example, alcohol and wines. These are things that people are is a well-to-do or so to speak. It's not an indispensable commodity that we cannot live without. So we decide to tax these commodities and add it to the fund. By so doing, we will be having some dedicated source to fund it with. And I think that is what we should do. As civil society organization, the media should all create a platform and let's say that, look, we are not going anywhere. That development partners will go and come. DFID is a grant, the World Bank is a loan. For how long can the World Bank continue to provide us a loan to take care of the basic need of our own people? And I think the political will is equally very important. And government should actually be able to say that, look, this time now, social protection is our priority. And even if we have to delay some funding or some activities and then do this, because a lot of people depend on it for their day-to-day household food consumption smoothing.
Okay, so saying Ghana, Mr. Derry, saying Ghana is proposing private sector participation. I've heard you talk about how we should bring in people who drink alcohol and all those people. Are you in a way suggesting that we should go the private sector way? And how feasible is this, if that's what you're suggesting?
Certainly the private participation is key.
All right, so Alexis Derrida, he's the first vice president of the Ghana Association of Social Workers, and he made the point that we need to bring in the private sector to help in dealing with this LEAP beneficiary to sustain those people. If we get him back, we'll bring that to you. But we'll take a break on the pulse. Don't forget to join the conversation. We're on all our social media handles. You can tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My own personal handle is @Nana Aisha. We'll take a break. We're back shortly. Welcome back to The Pulse. The post-Guinean President Alpha Condé is still shocked and coming to terms with the coup that toppled his government. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko Boche has revealed after she led an ECOWAS delegation to Guinea to assess the situation. During the trip, Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko Boche disclosed that the coup leaders outlined a number of conditions under which they will relinquish power for a civilian-led transition, although she did not reveal these conditions. Shirley Ayoko Boche has been speaking at a news conference in Accra.
Condition of former President Alpha Condé. Physically, he looked very well. We even went as far as to talk to his doctor, who ascertained that indeed physically he's very well. But for anybody who has gone through a traumatic experience like he did, mentally it's not the best. So not to say that mentally we found anything wrong, but yes, he was quite shocked. He was still in a state of shock. Condition under which he will be released, that at the moment I cannot talk about. The heads of state have sent us on a mission. We will present the report to them tomorrow. Indeed, they did put across to us some conditions under which he will be released, but at this moment I think it would not be proper to report on that. Duration. If you recall, with regards to Mali, it was the heads of state that insisted on the duration of the transition. With Guinea, this is fresh. We went on a fact-finding mission. We've had a chat with them. At the moment, I don't think that they are in a position to even propose how long it would take them to return the country back to constitutional rule. So it is now up to the heads of state to now take some serious decisions on Guinea, what they want to see in the next, whether it's 1 month, 6 months.
Meanwhile, 7 ECOWAS heads of state will be arriving in Ghana Thursday morning for an extraordinary ECOWAS summit to consider the report of the delegation dispatched to Guinea.
Pursuant to the authorities' decision, I, in my capacity of chair of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, led a high-level mission to Conakry on Friday, 10th September. During the visit, the delegation met with Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, chairman of the National Committee for Reconciliation and Development, CNRD, and at our request, spent some time with the ousted president of Guinea, His Excellency Alpha Condé. The delegation informed Colonel Doumbouya of the decision of the summit to immediately dispatch a high-level ECOWAS mission to Conakry, Guinea, to ascertain, among others, the issues that led to the events of 5th September 2021, inquire about the plan of the CNRD for the restoration of constitutional order in the country. It also conveyed the condemnation and grave concern of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government about the coup and its expectation of a civilian-led transition within the shortest possible time.
But with some criticizing ECOWAS for not taking proactive measures, Shirley Ayoko Boche says the head of state has been engaging behind the scenes.
Let me state here that ECOWAS, all ECOWAS countries, 15 of us, have signed on to the protocol on democracy and good governance. That in itself is a commitment to ensure that we all stick to democracy, constitutional rule, and good governance. However, as we all know, some heads of state have veered from this, the charter, and have gone for third-term bids. And President Alpha Condé is one such. Let me state that when something like this happens, let us not assume that behind the scenes there is nothing happening. I can assure you that when anything of the sort happens, behind the scenes, the heads of state, knowing full well that, yes, the country has signed on to the protocol, the charter, but at the same time, it is a sovereign country, have done everything behind the scenes to engage with that colleague to step down on such occurrences and to stick to the term limits. So what you see from the outside is that everybody is relaxed, but that is not the case. There's a lot of engagement that goes on. And if we take the example of Guinea, if you recall, there was a referendum after the change of the constitution, part of it, there was a referendum where people lost their lives, citizens lost their lives in protest, and so on and so forth. No, ECOWAS could not have and did not sit aloof or stand aloof and watch this happen. We engaged, and I was even part of delegations that went there, sent by the heads of state, went there on about 2 occasions to engage with all stakeholders.
Professor Vladimir Ntwedanso is cautioning Europeans against imposing the rights of homosexuals on Ghanaians. Speaking at an event to mark UN International Day of Democracy, he expressed concerns about the American Embassy's decision to host the LGBTQ flag. Dr. Ntwedanso challenged the Europeans to champion the rights of homosexuals in the Arabian countries if they believe in rights.
We are now at a fourth when people are beginning to think that feelings are human rights. So you feel that you are a woman, even though you are a man, and they are telling us it's also human right feeling. One boy came to me and said, I also feel I'm an American in Ghanaian body. So, so we are extending the frontier. I don't know where we shall end. We are extending the frontiers of human rights. Of course, people know my take on those latter human rights, which I think feelings cannot be made human rights. You feel like that, keep your feeling. For me, it is sickness which should be. It's like when you have malaria, you feel like you want even to die. That one, we help the doctor to help you to come up. So if you feel like a woman, you feel it. Yes, we are people whose features look like a woman, the face, the voice. But to say it's a human right, so you must spread it, I think I have an exception to it. You must pardon me, but I won't apologize for saying so, because then pedophiles, those men who, when they see little girls, they want to sleep with them, so little boys, it's also a feeling. Is that a human right? What about armed robbers? When they get up, the finger is saying, go shoot and steal.
He also observed that African leaders lack appreciation of democracy and challenged them to ensure that the ordinary people benefit from the democratic style of governance.
Well, in Africa, actually, we say democracy majority rule, right? If you see these lions, about 8 of them, pouncing on an innocent bull, then democracy is majority rule. Alternatively, democracy in Africa is the enjoyment of the sweet African cake. You see the cake? I gave you a nice cake, being eaten by a few smart ones who have contributed nothing towards the making of the cake. Or, alternatively, it is when we make the poor feed us and we become fat. Well, so our democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. But they give us the liberty, say you have the right. So we arm ourselves. See, the poor lamb, he is for dinner, whether you like it or not. But democracy is a process, not an event. Any rigid application of force will rather derail democracy. The world cannot see peace where there is a real clash of civilizations in trying to ensure global democracy. By clash of civilizations, I mean the imposition of values on countries that are not ready for acceptance. The basic principle of democracy may be universal, but try to universalize the practice of democracy will always stand condemned by socio-historical and cultural relativities and or specificities. In the main, democracy depends on constitutionalism and institutionalism. It is clear that democracy is badly hiccuping everywhere. State actors and civil society must first have an understanding of the essence of democracy and democratic governance. They must set the agenda for incepting a democratic culture. It is the only way to consolidate democracy. And if the politicians don't understand, don't clap yet. If the politicians don't understand, we must send them back to school. Send them, all of them back to school.
The Ghana Water Company Limited expects an increase in tariffs this year, indicating an increase in the cost of operations. CEO Clifford Barima says millions of Ghana cedis from internally generated funds have been pumped into the rehabilitation of equipment, especially at the water treatment plant, to improve water supply to customers. The plant was shut down Monday to replace broken down valves and meters, cutting off the water supply to more than 20 communities in Accra West. Mr. Barima indicates that repair works are almost complete, but at a high cost to the water company. They're hoping that tariff adjustments made by PURC will reflect an increase to make their work efficient.
We have been able to take what we have now without asking for an increase in tariff and tried as much as possible to get some of these things done with what we have. So how much? An increase in tariff is imminent because PURC reviews our tariff every 2 years. 2019, they reviewed it. We didn't get much, but we had to. 2021, we're expecting a review, and the process has continued. I am saying that my cost of operation has increased. And if I am supposed to spend money today and rehabilitate the system that should have been rehabilitated 50 years ago, 25 years ago, that's a tariff that was consumed already. Where am I going to get our resources to do that? And what they are giving to me is to make sure that I am efficient, and that is moving forward. So how do you play around these two to make sure that you take care of what didn't happen yesterday and then take care of what you need today and also plan for tomorrow? So and that's what makes it the challenge. It's PURC. It's an independent regulatory body. We do not influence them. All we do is to carry our input to them. they do the analysis and come to their judgment.
Meanwhile, the over 20 communities denied access to water over the shutdown are to get water in 48 hours. Sanitation and Water Resources Minister Cecilia Abinadapa was there to inspect work done.
The trip today, I was pushing it to tomorrow because we have cabinet today. But fortunately for me, cabinet is pushed back a bit. So we took the opportunity to come in here. And I'm happy we've come. They are on time, ahead of schedule. On time on some of them, ahead of schedule on some of them. And they promised us they will finish by the close of today. And tests run, and people will get water. And meanwhile, when they shut it off, essential services like hospitals, Kolibo, etc., they were sending the water. And that's the way to go.
Let's do some COVID-19 stories. Germany's vaccination numbers are good, but for health officials, not good enough. That's why the country has kicked off a vaccine action week this week in hope of encouraging more people to get a shot. To hear more about what's in store to entice the unvaccinated, let's bring in William Glucroft, correspondent with our partner DW. William, what exactly is this vaccine action week all about?
Yeah, it's a big week here in Germany. It's the first coordinated nationwide action week. Different kinds of offers and campaigns going on all around the country to try to encourage the still unvaccinated people, like as you noted, about 40%. This comes Germany, like many European countries, the United States as well, hitting that wall, starting to plateau as they run out of people who are really interested and eager to get their shots and having to work more and more to convince people to go get their shots. For whatever reason, to do it, or young people who think that they are not really affected by it and don't really need it. So you're seeing this week the government partnering with stores, with businesses, with companies, with event locations, with public venues. One, to increase the number of places where you can get a vaccine. So just on your everyday business, you can just pop in someplace and get a shot. Some places are even offering deals, like you can get into the zoo, or you can get a free, alcohol-free, mind you, alcohol-free beer in exchange for getting your shot. Or the problem and which Berlin's famous fast. So those are some shots.
So is there any criticism of this kind of campaign, William? William.
Absolutely. Of course, you always have people on the far right. You have vaccine skeptics, science skeptics who just don't want to have to, anything to do with these rules or vaccines at all. But then you also have opposition politicians who are saying this action week is a nice gesture, but it's just not enough, that it should have been happening in this way and form for a long time, and it should continue going on like this. There should be ample opportunities for people to regularly go in and get their shot, whether it's at a store or your local market or wherever it may be. Angela Merkel's chief of staff actually came out and said these kinds of things will continue. But again, opposition politicians saying it's just too little, too late, and there needs to be more information and more of a push to get good information out to people so people feel comfortable to get their shots, and especially going into the winter months where there's a lot of fear that those numbers, as you noted at the top, are just not high enough to get us through the winter.
William Glucroft is with our partners DW all the way from Berlin. Let's now come back home and take a look at Ghana's situation at the moment. We'll check on the COVID dashboard, and you can see over there new cases 353, active cases now almost 5,000, and then you can see confirmed cases 123,874. Recoveries 117,892. Death rate still crossed 1,000 almost. It's 1,098. We're almost getting to 1,100. The Indian government will soon offer scholarship medical doctors in the Upper West region who wish to pursue further studies in specialized areas. The move is part of cooperation between the Indian and Ghanaian governments to enhance service delivery in the health sector. Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Sugandhi Rajaram, made the disclosure during his 5-day official tour of the Upper West region. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
As part of his 5-day tour of the Upper West region, Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Sugandhi Rajaram, has been meeting with traditional authorities, policymakers, major stakeholders in the education and health sectors. After separate meetings with the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, and the overlord of the Wada traditional area, Nafuseni Sidi Pilpo IV, Sugandhi Rajaram visited the Upper West Regional Hospital. He was conducted around the hospital by the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, in the company of the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Pungiri. Sugandhi Rajaram noted that the aim of the tour is to look at areas in the health sector, especially the hospital, where the Indian and Ghanaian governments could collaborate to enhance service delivery at the hospital. This, he said, could be done by awarding scholarships to personnel and special doctors for further medical studies in India.
There is a need in certain specialty areas where India could come to help and assistance to enhance, augment the specialties, medical specialties which are needed. So I, in fact, offered to them that once such scholarships are available for offering scholarships for the doctors, for the faculties from here to be trained in India in the courses of priority of the hospital. Right now, these scholarships are, conducted only online because of the COVID pandemic situation. But I think soon we will again restart these in the physical format. We'll be very happy to send few of the experts from here to India for the skill enhancement and augmentation in the areas that the hospital needs.
Another area they would like to look at, according to the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, is to expand the hospital infrastructure to save many more clients.
I think there are certain areas where equipment, where infrastructure could be added. We have a beautiful facility. Yes, I think over the years they have augmented the infrastructure, as was mentioned, that from the doctors, from the staff 4 to 25. It's a great stride. But yes, there is a lot of requirement, considering the need that the requirement that this hospital is catering in terms of patients all over the region. I think a lot can be done with regard to augmenting the infrastructure.
Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Pungiri, threw more light on the meeting with the Indian High Commissioner.
It put forward to the Commissioner that we really want to develop orthopedics as a core area in this region where we will have a competitive edge. So these are the areas that we discussed, and they actually promise that we will be able to get that collaboration going forward to be able to develop. We also discussed the need to establish dialysis units in the region, looking at the fact that people have to travel several hours to Kumasi, Konfonoche, with the associated costs.
Medical Director of the hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, is already counting on the benefits that the people will get from the cooperation of the two countries should it materialize.
We know India is a big country, that a lot of people from all categories, the biomedical unit, nurses, doctors, can go and build their capacities. So if they establish that connection with our hospital, I think we only stand to benefit. So I'm very happy for that.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
All major roads in the Upper West region that were washed away by violent flash floods have been temporarily fixed. 8 out of 11 municipalities and districts in the region were cut off from the regional capital as a result of the floods. Government earmarked 50 million Ghana cedis to fix the roads and awarded them to 4 contractors. JoyNews' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam once again reports that although temporary works to fix the roads are complete, the contractors will, however, return to site to continue permanent fixture of the roads when the rains are over.
This was how the Badaribe feeder road, located between the Gasombo and the Fiema, looked like after the August 12th torrential rains in the region. The bituminous surface on a section of the road caved in and washed away by the high intensity of a rain that has not been witnessed in the region for years. A familiar contractor and face, Mawuns Limited, was called into action. He is back to fix a road that he knew from its F stage to its current stage. He constructed it some 15 years ago. Within 3 weeks of intensive work, it has now been fixed and open to traffic. Williams Adongo is a representative of Mawuns Limited.
At the time the road got cut off, you couldn't get material which the moistures are very good to work on the swampy area. So we decided to come with the boulders with his permission, so that the boulders will stabilize the ground. And then there are 2 different types of boulders. We have very big ones that went down first. Then we have the crash rock, and then the 040, which makes the driving comfort a bit better for traffic to use. It was difficult anyway, but we managed to overcome it.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali commended Mawuns Limited for the seriousness attached to the job, which has ameliorated the sufferance of the people.
I was here a few weeks ago and coming to see this amount of work done within this short period of time gives me great joy. It means that we still have contractors who have the wherewithal to perform magic. It is my expectation that once we are through with the raining season, they will come and then do the actual work. Like the engineer indicated, we need to find a permanent solution to this incident.
Another feeder road that was cut off was the Fiema Road. It was awarded to Ascoli Investment Limited. They have temporarily fixed it.
Right now, this is one of the cut areas. What he has done is to reinstate the embankment. There, he used the boulders, first of all, because the ground is very soft. Remove some unsuitable material, put the boulders, and then topped up with gravel and compacted. So right now, this is one of the sections, and the trucks can move on.
The epicenter of the disaster in the region was in the Jiruba municipality and on the Yiziri highways. The highway is mostly used by heavy trucks to neighboring countries, especially Burkina Faso. Municipal Chief Executive for Jiruba, Christine Bombanya Amadou, is happy with the speed of work done so far.
I didn't expect that within the shortest possible time, this road will be more trouble. Today, as we stand, it's more trouble. And then why I'm so happy is there was a road alternative, let me say. The bigger trucks that are plying this road to Burkina Faso had been routed to a different route, and that one also my constituency. And so our only tied road was being destroyed because that was an alternative route for these big trucks to pass.
For now, all the major roads that were cut off by the violent and catastrophic floods on August 12 have now been temporarily fixed in the region. The contractors will now wait for the rains to be over for them to return to site to fix them permanently. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, though not happy with the magnitude of the disaster, he was quick to point out that it has given the region the space to put its roads in a better shape.
We have also sent estimates for consideration of the minister for 21 other affected routes once the minister approves of. That will get contractors to begin work on those projects. Although this situation is a bad one, it has also given us the opportunity to work on the roads in the Upper West region. And government will not relent. We'll do all we can to ensure that by the next rainy season, most of these roads are fixed.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Balerebe.
Back here in Accra and in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Ashanti region will be the first to benefit from the reclamation of Galamsey-affected lands. Affected areas in the Ashanti-Akim Central Municipality have already been zoned as part of feasibility studies. Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Duka, explains the government is committed to reclaiming the lands. Nana Ojima spoke to the minister on the sidelines of the launch of a community mining concession at Amansia Central District of the Ashanti region.
Following the war against illegal mining, many mining pits were left open. The amount of investment for the reclamation is yet to be made known, but Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Duka, says plans are advanced to cover the pits.
Yes, reclamation as part of our alternative livelihood empowerment program, we have in a way dedicated some funds for the reclamation project. We have zoned the areas in the mining regions. We're currently starting from Konongo in the Ashanti region. Consultants on the field, they are doing visibility studies, how we can reclaim all these concessions that were mined illegally and were not able to reclaim. The government is committing to reclaim these concessions.
Government, through the security forces, will ensure contractors do not return to mine on the reclaimed areas. Mr. Duka is hopeful players in the mining industry will help the government succeed in reclaiming the affected lands.
We also appealing to individuals, more especially the small-scale mining association, to find ways of also supporting this kind of call by, in a way, reclaiming those concessions that are close to their mining enclave. So reclaiming is also not an opportunity to remine. You are to basically reclaim it. And we're also saying that if you are mining now and it is alluvial, you reclaim concurrently. You don't mine and leave it for years before you come and reclaim. The moment you finish mining, if it is, an established or a licensed concession, the moment you finish mining, you need to reclaim.
Meanwhile, the second community mining concession for the Ashanti region has been inaugurated at the Amansia Central District. It is expected to create 7,000 jobs for the youth of the area. For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojimes reports.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin this afternoon on The Pulse. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. You have a lot of the stories over there. These are stories that you will see when you go there. Milovan to be named as replacement for Akono pending ESCO approval. And also Reverend Owusu Bempa granted bail. There are more of the stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I've indeed enjoyed my almost 2 hours stay with you. Do enjoy the rest of our program.